Rolling sound, quiet. Here we go. Beating. 1.67. And starting with and action.
Hi out there. Welcome to today's panel on the big screen. We're talking with three owners and operators of three venues in Fort Worth, three very different, unique, dynamic venues, each one kind of fulfilling a different niche in our community here. My name is Wesley Gentle. I'm the Director of Advancement for the Arts Council of Fort Worth, which is a local nonprofit that supports the local arts here. We provide grants. Lone Star Film Society has been among those recipients over the years. We manage public art and provide public art services, so many of the sculptures and murals you see around town. And we also operate the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, which itself has two theaters, the W.E. Scott Theater, Sanders Theater. It's also been home to Lone Star's summer camp for a number of years now. But the real reason I think I've been brought here today to moderate, I was actually a film minor at TCU for one semester. And I plan to use all 3 credit hours of my knowledge to keep up with our panel today. And without further ado, let's introduce them, starting with William Giron. Tell us a little about yourself and your organization.
Great, thanks for having me. Yes, my name is William Giron. I'm the Executive Director for Artes de la Rosa at the Cultural Center for the Arts at the Historic Rosemary Theater. I've been with the organization for about 10 years, primarily as a board of director and as an ED, started that in December 2018. We're a cultural center for the arts. We provide a variety of different fine arts disciplines for the community, for the youth, family-oriented, if you will. We manage the Historic Rosemary Theater, and we do a variety of different components from screening films, festivals, dance, performances, concerts, musicals, literary readings, community forums, and specialty workshops.
Wonderful. And Jeffrey Smith with Downtown Cowtown. Tell us a little about yourself and your operation there.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share this panel with two esteemed colleagues, similar fields of what we're doing at Downtown Cowtown at the ISIS. Sort of the new kid on the block with the oldest building on the block, so to speak. Downtown Cowtown at the ISIS is a multi-purpose live entertainment facility. We are a single screen movie house that will retract for live entertainment as well. So we're combining both opportunities. It's a 500-seat house. And our main goal is to try to make sure that we're making it more of a nostalgic experience for our patrons and giving them an opportunity to see classic films in the way it was originally intended in a movie house that was live and thriving in the 1920s and 30s. And that's kind of the direction we're headed with what we're trying to provide.
Fantastic. And Jimmy, tell us a little bit about Granbury.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Jimmy Sweeney. I'm the founder and film programmer for the Granbury Theater. We're a single screen art house in Fort Worth's Foundry District. And we just like to screen independent, local, more under the radar films and provide a safe communal space for people to be able to talk about and engage on those.
Awesome. Yeah, and Jimmy, we'll start with you for this question because you're in a position where you've opened your theater somewhat recently, right? In the past few years, really. I guess
a little over a year now.
A little over a year now, and tell us what it's like to operate a theater in Fort Worth, and why Fort Worth? Why did you choose to set up shop here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So. Fort Worth really has a backbone in the arts, especially with the museums that we have. Musically, we have a really great music scene, and we just felt like film was another extension of the arts that Fort Worth didn't have a dedicated space for. So really, this just came personally from me wanting to have a different kind of movie experience and a different kind of theater going experience and be able to see films that I was either missing out on or having to drive to Dallas to go see. And so our goal was just to create a more communal and welcoming environment where people could come watch movies that really most likely have a message that's very relevant to life today and life in Fort Worth, and be able to engage with hopefully people that look different than them or are from different socioeconomic status from them, and be able to have that conversation about what that movie says about living in our community right now. And so that's really what drove our decision to start the Granbury. And being in Fort Worth, we just have such an incredible community that really values small local experiences. And so getting to feel the community come behind us and get on board with a lot of films that they haven't been exposed to before has been really great.
Awesome. Yeah. And let's see, Jeffrey, so you're actually looking to open fairly soon. Y'all haven't opened the doors for the downtown.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
But what was it that drove you to take this plunge and open up this theater in this historic location, and why Fort Worth? Why this city in particular?
Well, again, I think that's a great question as well. And for me personally, I'm a Fort Worth native. I moved around a lot after, sort of in those middle years. I went off to the East Coast doing some professional work, trying to do professional theater up there, and worked my way back here. This building has been here since 1914. It's got such a significant, tremendous history that's part of Fort Worth, which has always been a passion of mine. The fact that that building has just been left dormant since 1988 just really hurt my heart, that I couldn't stand seeing such a beautiful structure with such a rich history being left to its own demise, for lack of a better term. So it became one of those things where my wife and I sat down, we talked about where is it we really want to be, what do we want to do? And without hesitation, I said, this is the place, this building, the connection that it has to Northside, the connection it has to Fort Worth as a whole, to the stockyards with their international visitors annually. I just couldn't think of a better place to be, and being able to bring something that had such a rich history and be able to bring that back to life and provide people that same opportunity that once existed, really getting a chance to go back in time and experience what it may have been like in the 1920s and 30s, whether it be with live theater or acoustic performances or with a classic film, that you're getting a chance to come down to, again, another rich history area in the Fort Worth stockyards. Catch a Western and, drink a beer and walk down through, take a step back in time. So it became very, very important to me that we really brought this thing back to life, so that it wasn't just sitting there. And I think everybody can agree that that building's been sitting there for so long with nobody touching it, and it really needed that TLC. And I'm so honored that I have the opportunity to be the one to do that. And we've taken painstaking efforts to make sure that we are as historically accurate, as close to the pieces that we had from before. Just as a side note, one of the things we were able to salvage out of the space is there's an old 35 millimeter carbon arc projector that was still in the space that we were able to salvage. We're actually cleaning it up, and it'll be the first thing you see when you walk in, which is we're putting it in the old ticket booth, and we're turning into a shadow box. So you'll be able to see a lot of that historic memorabilia. So that becomes very important to how we connect with the surrounding community and connect the world at large to what's so important about Fort Worth as a whole.
That's unbelievable. Wow. And William, you're actually in a position, so speaking of rich history and historic facilities, the Artes operates the Rosemarine Theater, which has an amazing history. And I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Of course, you didn't necessarily choose to set up shop in Fort Worth. The shop was already set up there for you. But how is it operating in Fort Worth, and how is Fort Worth in the DNA of what you're doing there?
Yes, thanks. So Jeffrey, some great things to come. I say this because we're down the street from each other. The Rosemarine Theater was also built. It was originally called Roseland Theater back in 1914 as well. It is registered as a historical landmark, national landmark. The organization as a whole, what we do is to continue to preserve and promote, interpret the art, lives, culture and history of the Latino community for all to enjoy. So we do this, when the theater opened, actually it had it went through a variety of different. There was only 4 owners that the theater had, but it started as a movie house showing westerns. It does have that nostalgic feel to it. So when people come here, they do remember history. As it transitioned with different owners back in the 1920s, Mexico actually had a large distribution of Mexican films worldwide, and there was a higher influx of Mexican Americans here in Fort Worth due to employment. There was higher employment here, specifically here in Stock Yards. And really, in that component, talking about history, during that time frame, there was segregation, and the Rosemarine Theater itself was a haven, a safe place, and if not the only place where families came to enjoy a variety of different types of entertainment. We have been blessed in the theater. The operators at that time, they would fly down to Mexico and bring in famous Mexican artists out here, and that just like we have artists now, they may be triple threat, dance, act, sing. So they would show their films here on stage, and they would have them singing on stage, and then they would get the opportunity to meet people as well. So we're blessed in the sense that we bring in the older generation, the newer generation, and the future generations. As we have different programming that caters to film, as I was mentioning, specific topics that affect the Hispanic Latino community, and having panels afterwards, having talkbacks, and just having those open discussions of what's happening, just like we've been having now these last couple of or this unprecedented year, if you will, but having those healthy conversations of what's affecting the community overall here locally, and also showcasing, celebrating local artists that you don't get to see play in bigger roles out in at other theaters. So it provides a great opportunity.
Very nice. Yeah, and actually, Jimmy, that really makes me, what William was just saying, makes me think a little bit about your organization. Your theater's named for 2 different theaters, each that were serving different communities in Fort Worth. Can you tell us a little bit about where you got that name from and what that kind of informs about your theater?
Yeah, definitely. So the Barry was founded in the early 30s. It's at Barry and Hemphill in Fort Worth, and is another beautiful old theater that has been sitting dormant for a while. But when it opened, it was originally called the White Theater, and aside from a really small box up in the back, was a whites only theater. And then the Grand, which is off of East Rosedale and East Fort Worth, was also opened in the mid 30s, and it was the blacks only theater. And just my wife and I live in East Fort Worth, and as we were driving home one day after sort of the whole birth of this idea, we drove by the Grand and got out, walked around, and we're just really struck by how beautiful the theater was, and just how immersed into that historic Southside community it is. And going back and starting to do some research on them, with our goal of being of recognizing Fort Worth's past and hopefully pushing forward towards a better future, it just felt really natural to bring those 2 things together. And because that is the foundation of where we are, it's really led to a lot of diverse programming, which obviously as a white male, I'm not the one to do a lot of that. And so just having people in the community that are also passionate about this step say, hey, I think this would be a great topic for the Black community or Hispanic community, or Indigenous or whoever to engage on. I think this represents me as an LGBTQ person. Having those people come in and come alongside us and help program that has really been a highlight for us of the past year. So it's really it was the foundation that we sort of laid upon, and out of that, it's been really encouraging to see the programming and whatnot that's come out of it.
Nice. Yeah. And regarding programming, one thing I think that's also very unique about all three of the theaters that are represented here today is, at least as far as I can tell, all three have a really interesting blend of not only sharing things on the silver screen, but also live engagements, things that, I guess ironically, here we are on Zoom in a time when we're required to be separate so much of the time, but that is it seems to be such an important part of what you all are doing, or are about to do in your case. And I'd like to hear a little bit about, really from all three of you, what is it like operating in that intersection of cinema and live engagements, and how does that play out in your theaters? And I'll open up the floor. I've been kind of directing things a little bit here. We can have a conversation.
Well, I guess I'll jump in if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, William.
So yes, as we mentioned, yes, we have a variety of programming in the theater. Interesting enough, we're talking about, I'll use this as a most recent one. We're in the process of already with the Dia de los Muertos celebration festival. So a lot of the programming has shifted to digital. However, a couple of weeks ago, we had a playwright, director, and producer who came in and did a play and filmed it here at the Rose Green Theater, and using the film format like they did in Hamilton with different angle shots. So we're going to be premiering it, world premiere, if you will, it's called Pauline and Luis play. And this is based on two civic leaders here from Northside in Fort Worth. And Luis Zapata was the first Mexican-American council member here in Fort Worth, and he was one of the founders here of the organization, and was very pivotal in getting funds, played a key factor in getting funds to renovate the Rosemary Theater, bring it back to life, because there was a time frame where the theater itself was closed down, shut down due to the economy. But we're going to get to premiere that digital-wise. We shift in towards the end of the year to Mariachi Christmas on stage, abiding by COVID guidelines, CDC guidelines and what have you. But it's dynamic because you get to see some of the same demographics and then an expansion of demographics, because we think we have with our programming a rich programming where we're able to cater to a variety of different demographics, and keeping the traditions alive with the Mexican culture and Latino culture, and having that educational component. So it's very enriching, and seeing families and bringing a positive aspect to them in their lives.
Well, I can definitely echo his sentiments a little bit on that as well, with what we're going to be trying to provide, because one of the biggest things I think both these gentlemen would agree is that we're about arts exposure, and we're about arts advocacy, and we want to make sure that that process continues and flourishes. We all see how important that is, whatever medium it may be. That all becomes very crucial, that we're providing that through line, that connectivity between us and the community at large. We're in a very unique position with our space, just like at the Rose Marine, where we will have seats. It's not going to be standing room only. I mean, you're going to have that opportunity to come in and sit. And yes, with the CDC piece, I think one of the things that's kind of presented itself is now we're looking at longer residencies, perhaps, where people are having an opportunity to do more shows, so that they're getting more exposure, smaller audiences, but they're still getting the same number overall as it is, but also from the same standpoint that we do have that versatility, that ability to share everything from opera to comedians to Hispanic heritage to LGBTQ issues, whatever it may be, that we're able to provide and present and really create that conduit is really what's important. I think it is to me, to making sure that we're providing that opportunity for everyone else as well as they come into the space. And so when we talk about it being more intimate, yeah, even though we're a 500-seat house, with the size of our space, we're still going to be able to hold up to about 300 per show, and really having to work how we spread that out and see how we work to make it, work. But, some of the challenges I know both you guys have come across already, I'm sure, is, making sure we do have social distancing, making sure we do have, temperature checks and all of those things to make sure that we're providing a safe environment for folks to come in and experience. But above all else, we really want to make sure that we are still providing that experience. I really do appreciate the work that's being done through Artes de la Rosa, where we are really getting that educational component. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to do the same type of process in our space to really expand that out and really advocate for arts and education as much as possible as well.
Yeah, we do the live space a little bit less, but the niche that we've maybe found is a lot of local artists who, they can't afford to rent out a bigger space to put on a show, but they want to expose themselves, whether it's just to family and friends or opening that up to the broader community. And so we've definitely found a little niche there where local artists are just trying to have an affordable spot to go and showcase themselves. And so that's been really encouraging and awesome to see how people are willing to come out and support someone they haven't heard because they're, just somebody trying to create something. And I think encouraging creators like that with spaces like something that's really
perfect. Well, I will say though, I mean, you're downplaying the live performance thing, but one of my biggest regrets in life is not going to the Charlie Brown Christmas broadcast y'all did with the live jazz band. Like, I'm going to take that to my grave that I missed that. So
we had a lot of fun with that. Hopefully next year, Rich Malloy's a great local artist, and that was a lot of fun having him put that on. So fingers crossed that next year we'll be back on track for that.
Yeah, I'll be there. But you also have a really beautiful mural right outside of your location.
Yeah.
Tell me about that?
So that was actually commissioned by our landlords. It sort of overlapped right at the same time as we were starting to build out our space. But it's massive. I'm gonna butcher the dimensions of it, but it's something like 80 by 24. And it is super vibrant and colorful. And for us, it just feels really natural to have something like that outside of our space. We feel like it represents us in a lot of ways. So it wasn't something that we planned on, but it feels like a really happy couple that just sort of happened.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I think in all three cases, it's so it is so telling to see all the different ways that the arts kind of present themselves in these spaces, or are about to present themselves for you, Jeffrey. And I know we're, I guess, a little past our 10-minute mark, but we've started to talk a little bit about some of the challenges. And of course, there are the contemporary challenges with public health and safety during the pandemic. But of course, beyond before that, and probably long after that, there are just the day-to-day challenges of operating a facility, of working, and presenting in film. Do you want to speak just briefly to some of those? And then if we start to run up against our time, we'll flip the switch and talk about, what it's all about and why those challenges, at the end of the day, don't stop you from doing what you do. And let's see. Well, Jeffrey, yeah, you've probably got the most challenging role.
Well, I do. I make no bones about it. This has been a 4-year process to get to where we are today. It is a historic building, and just like the Rosemarine historic landmark, but as such, we took great care to make sure that we were as historically appropriate as possible. So we've worked with the Texas Historic Commission to make sure that we're sticking to and adhering to those pieces. Mother Nature did a number on this building, and so we really wanted to make sure that we were appropriate with what those pieces are, and everything that I could keep, everything that I could bring back is things that we were adamant about doing. But in doing so, it created a huge challenge. It made it very difficult to get the right approvals for the right components, so that we can bring it back. When you talk about walking into a lobby area that at one time was this grand entrance with stencils from 1926, which we still have some pictures of. We wanted to jazz it up a little bit, and the Historic Commission said, nope, it's got to be stencils. So we're going back and figuring out how to do those pieces. So that's just a simplistic example, I guess I could say, but there's logistical things like that that have made it relatively challenging in order to get us to where we are today. I'm just absolutely thrilled that I'm sitting here with you, talking about us being open by next year, by the end of this year, actually, and being able to plug in and really just to start building on what this will be. But when you start dealing with renovation and trying to make sure that you're doing everything right, there's always something that comes up. I mean, it just takes over my day and takes over what's going on in order to get us to where we need to be. So it is a constant challenge, and it will be up until the time the lights go on and the doors go open. So
yeah, well, let's hear a little bit, Jimmy, about some of the challenges, because you've gone through a similar process not too long ago, and now you're in it. What are some of the things that you're working through?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of the peak challenges for this year was after Parasite winning Best Picture, us having that really the entire month of February and feeling like we had a ton of momentum that obviously came to a screeching halt. But I think the biggest challenge over the last year in general that we've seen is how do we make what we're bringing into the theater sound like something that you need to come and see. And if we've got it on the screen, then we believe that it is important and meant to be watched, and probably meant to be watched around other people where you can have a conversation about it. But a lot of the titles that we bring in there's a reason they're flying under the radar. Whether that's just because they're lower budget, less marketing opportunities. And I would say one prime example last year was a film we had last October called The Day Shall Come. Really incredible film with entirely Black creative team, Black director, starring a Black cast, plus Anna Kendrick. And it really was just a phenomenal film that hit on police violence and occurred right around Tatiana Jefferson's murder. And it felt so relevant. And I think that week we had like 12 people total come and see it, which is fine. I'm great. I'm happy that those 12 people got to see it. I hope that it's on Hulu now, and I hope more people have found it now because of that. But that's sort of the thing we face, is when we're bringing in a title that's not from Amazon or A24 or Neon or one of those studios that has a higher marketing budget. How do we pitch these films to people as you need to come and see and engage with this? So that's what we're always working on, and trying to figure out what's the right thing that we need to say, or the right person we need to partner with on this to help make it a success. If we're bringing it to the screen, we think it's worth seeing.
Absolutely. And I trust your discretion on that, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And William, tell me about some of the day-to-day challenges that Artes overcomes to do what you do.
Well, in our particular case, once the renovation and it's open, it's the upkeep. The building was renovated back in '99, actually, and so it's after several years, and then underground it starts shifting. It can sometimes impact a building depending.
Don't tell me that, William. Don't tell me that.
But so no. Overall, yeah, it's the upkeep. Building wise maintenance. Equipment maintenance, of course, it's where, just like a car, wear and tear. if you will. But interesting enough, now we got into a COVID year. One of the things that I keep bringing up in different groups is nobody's talking about any potential building modifications. Because it's not at the forefront. And Jeffrey, just FYI, or both gentlemen, that aspect when you bring in people, trying to, like, we have a water fountain that's closed right now, because if not, you have to have a cleaning technician there, constantly, right? So as small as we are, we can't afford to have a technician here like 20, well, for that time, just depending on the programming. But and even in the restrooms, well, that's one of the areas that we're looking at fundraising, those avenues on building modifications where things become a lot more touchless, and so that's a component, that depending on how they foresee, hopefully, they find a cure, the sooner the better, of course. But in that meantime, it's trying to work around it so that we are able to still have people slowly come back into the building with those safety protocols. But in those areas that sometimes it doesn't, it's not at the forefront that people are thinking. So those seem to be the areas of challenges currently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're probably past our time. I'm not totally sure, but I don't want to leave on the note of of building woes and marketing challenges. Really, at the end of the day, there's a reason the three of you are on this call with us, and I'd love to hear just 30 seconds, a minute. Why keep doing this? What does it mean? And what do you personally get out of it? What does it mean to you? And William, let's start with you.
With me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. No, well, for me, it's the passion. I have a big passion for the mission of the organization, a passion having learned about the rich history of the Rosemarine Theater and making that impact with the community, a positive impact, especially in these times, even more so. The arts is heavily needed, and I think the arts is what it is also going to be very therapeutic. It's an assist on that social emotional level, and connecting people, however the facets or disciplines it may be. And we have a saying here that we always tell people: come and experience Artes de la Rosa and be part of nuestra familia. So bringing it together, and we're inclusive of everyone. So
yeah, I love your familia. Thanks for letting us be a part of it. And Jeffrey, what about you?
I have to echo what William said on passion. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about the arts. I'm very passionate about theater as a whole. I think it has such a rich history of itself, that the fact that we have this wonderful, unique conduit that is the historic ISIS Theater, that we can feed that back into the community. I think that is it's priceless. It's priceless to me. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else, doing anything else. This really is, it's me on a plate, for lack of a better term. It's everything I've ever wanted to do. It's everything that really helps to advocate for arts, provide a showcase for all art forms, to connect to the surrounding community, to build on the importance of what the arts can do, be it, I'm not going to get on my high horse about the improvements in education that it provides, which there's a ton, but I will say that not just there, but the balance that it creates within everybody's lives, it just is something that can't be without. And I want to make sure that we are there to provide that opportunity and that outlet on a regular basis.
Perfectly said. And Jimmy, take us out.
Yeah, I think for me, film has always been an escape. There's just something so special and unique about getting to go to a theater and really immerse yourself, turn off all distractions and immerse yourself in what is happening on screen. And I just love being able to be someone who gets to showcase that. I think, like William said, having that space to dive into, especially right now, is just something that is so important and so needed. And so getting to be that space where somebody who traditionally hasn't seen themselves displayed on screen in a way that they think is edifying is something that is just so valuable and important to me. And getting to be a place where that happens is just something that is so humbling and honoring. And so we love getting to do that for Fort Worth, for such a special city. And yeah, through a really tough year, that's what keeps us going.
Yeah, well, you all keep the arts in Fort Worth going in a really important way. And I hope everyone that's had a chance to watch this has learned a little bit and is compelled to learn more. There's so much further, so much more depth to everything you were doing. And I really do encourage folks to not just, stop at the website and the social media, but to step into your venues and experience it for themselves, because there really is so much. And I've personally gotten so much out of the limited interactions I've had, and look forward to spending more time getting to experience everything y'all have made possible. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for what you're doing all the time. And I really do hope that the challenges of today only lead to successes tomorrow for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
for having me.